So our guest today is Baldo Minaudo. He is a real estate broker of 9 years, among many other things I see on his LinkedIn. He has a passion for education. He is going to share a little bit about his story, his background, and how he became to find this new business he's working on, EZsmarts, and this vision, his endeavors, and everything he has planned for the future. So, hey, Baldo, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Hi, Alex. I'm doing great. And let me tell you, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about what I'm doing. I always get excited about it. And I love sharing it with other people because I think it's important for everyone to understand the things that we can do to make a difference in the world.
Definitely agree with you there. Why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory of you? You know, maybe where did you grow up? How was it growing up? And you're an immigrant, so maybe you can give us more of a story with that.
Sure. Like a lot of people, I am an immigrant. And when I came to Canada, I'm originally from Italy. When I came to Canada, I didn't speak English. I was very young and I was put into the school system. And it was very difficult because I couldn't understand most of the things the teacher was telling me. And they tested me and evaluated me. And unfortunately, the tests weren't equipped for people that didn't speak the language, and we didn't have translators in the school. So they were making decisions based on a false analysis or false data or incomplete data on my capabilities. So I quickly realized in my youth that how important it was to be able to A, communicate, but B, acquire the different types of skills that are valued by our society that are useful to be able to make a difference in our society. So I started a lifelong mission of learning as many things as I could really, really well. And it helped me to understand and develop a way of learning, grasping, evaluating, analyzing. And that carried through in my life. And when my children were born, I was homeschooling them before they started school in terms of their skills and their understanding. I covered the main pillars of education, including the arts and the soft skills, languages, and the hard skills, especially problem solving. So that took me well into what I had already started in my youth, which was the understanding of cognitive development and helping people with doing life transformation, which I coached for a while through different organizations on helping people transform their lives through cognitive redevelopment, cognitive transformation. And that helped, that served me well. Well, once my children started in the school system, I started getting really involved with school, helping. I designed and ran a homework club that had some really good practical learning in there that got integrated with the theory and curriculum, which made a big difference in the students that participated. And I also, at that point, got involved with the board and some of the associations that support parents and students in their lifelong learning. So I'm very grateful for that. And that's what basically my journey has been about, the challenge of learning as much as we can so that we can make a big difference in the world. Does that give you a kind of an idea of where I come from?
A little bit, yeah. Maybe we can get into asking about learning. What was the spark that made you want to do homeschooling for your kids? Because it's not as well developed here in Canada as it is in the US. Like in the US, it's very common, you know, in some states to do in-home learning and, sorry, I'm skipping on the word. You know, your parents getting the packages and teaching them themselves. It's not as well developed here in Canada as it is in the US. So what caused you to want to do that?
Alex, you're absolutely right. You're bang on. And just to be clear, I never actually got those packages. I designed my own curriculum because my children were preschool. So I started training them from literally 2 years old, even before then, on problem solving. So I didn't fall into any of those associations or pre-packaged curricula. But you're right. They're much more advanced in the U.S. Now, having said that, there's some pretty great organizations here in Canada that have tools and infrastructure to support parents doing home schooling. So what really sparked it in me was memories of me as a child. And I have some really wonderful, intelligent parents. My dad passed away a few years ago. God, bless him. But he was quite, even with his limited education, had great for education, he was quite a genius at what he was able to accomplish in life and in some of his creations. And I carried that with me to try to understand what it was that made him that smart and where he got his reference points from. And when I use reference points, for me, the biggest indicator of how intelligent someone is, acquired intelligence, is by the number and quality of reference points that they have. So I tried to give my children as much reference points as I could, because if someone has reference points, they can also, in any situation or challenge, refer to things that have worked or not worked, because they have that basket of experience and reference points. So what I did is I exposed them to as many languages, games, exercises, sciences, problems as I could, and rewarded them and found ways to motivate them and made them fun. So they were able to do some wonderful things. In fact, when they entered school, they were really advanced. To the point where, I'll give you an example. Last year, or the year before, my daughter, who was in grade 5, I caught her doing exercises online for a US university in sciences. And I thought back, how was this possible for her to comprehend and do exercises at the university level from a grade 5? And then I remembered that I had instilled in her and encouraged her to instill skills in terms of ability to read and solve problems. Well, those reference points from the stuff that we did and understanding some of those communication tools were useful for her to be able to understand and learn what she had to learn to be able to understand the university level sciences. And I thought, this is interesting. So it was working. What I had suspected, my theory, what applied in my life, was working with my children too. So that was a very, very satisfying and how can I put it, endorsing or reinforcing belief that I had.
Encouraging,
yeah. So that's it. What triggered it was my experience. It was me when I was going through school, having intelligent parents and wondering why I was being treated less than adequate. Like I was basically not able to comprehend and kind of put into the corner. I fell in between the cracks. To the point where they did a test on me, an IQ test, and they told my mom that I would never make it to university because I rated so low. Wow. The problem was I couldn't understand the questions. I didn't read or speak English. So they had passed this judgment with somebody that only spoke a foreign language and very few Canadian words and didn't understand the meaning of those words. So I wrote that test strictly on the numbers, my ability to understand math equations, which my father taught me a lot about math from using ratios in helping them with construction type of work, working with the hands, understanding ratios and proportions and angles and stuff like that. That's the only stuff I was able to answer properly was the mathematical questions. Because of that, it didn't require English. So I learned that was for me a lifelong driver to make sure that it didn't happen to my children. It doesn't happen to others, because there's a cultural communication, linguistic perspective to when we judge people in terms of how intelligent they are, how capable they are, how useful they are in our society. And unfortunately, our society doesn't do the greatest job. I don't think any society does in being able to recognize the uncut diamonds. Those individuals are really, truly brilliant, but all they need is a little bit of communication to be able for them to communicate their creativity, their ability to think and solve problems, which is the basis of all innovation in society.
That's great. Yeah, I mean,
it sounds like I'm preaching, but I'm very animated about this, Alex. I mean, this is, I've been studying intelligence for a long time because growing up, I saw a lot of people being given a lot of good stuff, tools, access to stuff, money, bursaries, based on the judgment of a systemized way of evaluating them. And knowing some of these people, I couldn't understand why they chose that person above other people, and sometimes myself, which I felt had understood and knew things and was brighter. when it came to a lot of materials, but yet they were given the stuff that others weren't allowed. And then I realized it boiled down to flaws in the way in the system they were used to measure somebody's ability to make a difference. Now, putting this in perspective, you can take somebody and test them who's had a lot of experience or only understands English and understands the theories and can apply them. But you take that person and you put them in a situation that requires them to think creatively and from a different perspective or using other types of skills, they're not going to bold very well. But you take someone who is used to several languages, who is used to taking a look at things from a different perspective, continuously struggling to try and figure out ways to get around the fact that they can't communicate in English very well. Then you have somebody who's probably better adapted to be able to solve innovative situations, problems that are unusual and novel with innovative solutions. And they are, in a lot of cases, are not individuals that fit the norm. For example, Elon Musk has some learning. You may be surprised at this, but he's learning challenged, and that he has his ability to concentrate on one subject for a long period of time. And the way he learns, he's had to build a system around his ability to learn and understand structures so that he could use that in different ways. And that's the basis of his innovation. He has a way of learning that allows him to quickly become an innovator in any field that he tackles. So a lot of people that don't fit that norm, the people that were not the A++ students, who were forced to think creatively, are really the ones that we should be supporting because they're the ones that are coming up with all the answers. The people that kind of fit the norm in the structure are the ones that carry on what has been going on before because they're good at reciting and doing things the way they were taught to do. And that's one of the things I noticed. And so when we teach, it's important for us to understand the personalities of the students and where they're coming from, the characters of those students. Because if we match the right learning with the right personalities, then it's going to be a lot better for them. They're going to perform much better. They're going to have a much more satisfying life, and it's going to be better for society in general. And by the way, the system I developed, which I have a provisional patent on, includes that. It has that and much more technology to it, and it combines it with artificial intelligence as well.
Well, let's had some few points, but you brought it up now, so let's get into EZsmarts. You've been in real estate for the past 9 years. You've been doing other stuff, but you've always been into learning, like you're saying, like it's always been around you. What pushed you over the precipice, made you cross the Rubicon to want to make it into a business, a service that you give onto others, people pay for it, go for it, What pushed you over?
Yeah, well, okay. First of all, I've been in real estate all my life. My first degree is in urban planning. So urban economic geography, the study of land and value and in the use of that land. And my dad was very much involved in real estate. I've always had a passion for real estate. So it hasn't started 9 years ago. I just became fully licensed 9 years ago from that sales perspective. But my understanding of economics behind and the societal significance of real estate has been a life passion of mine. It goes hand in hand with people's ability to perform well and make a difference in life. So that is, that's part of me that is kind of it goes with my sociological anthropology kind of interests, and it's about building healthy communities. And education is another component of that. So you have the structural spatial aspect, but then you also have the relationship aspects that connects those, and then you have the individual fulfillment aspect of how they fit into those roles. So that's part of my overall passion for building healthy, sustainable communities. What triggered me with EZsmarts is this. If you recall, in the beginning of 2020, when COVID hit, we were in a period where there was a struggle between the provincial government and unions, where the unions didn't want the provincial government to have a lot of online education. And this struggle was going on back and forth. Then COVID hit, and guess what? They had to close the schools. Now, because the teachers were not equipped with the proper tools, systems, and skills to be able to teach offline, what happened is for months, students were logging or not logging in, and not learning anything. There wasn't a way for them to be able to effectively learn, and teachers effectively teach and manage that. It took them a long time to figure that out. While this was going on, I quickly realized what was happening because I have two young children, and I was talking, and I'm involved with parent council. I was talking to other parents, and we were seeing what was going on. It was highly stressful, disruptive to the children and to the families. And so I took a look. I started taking a look at what tools were being used. I took a look at what tools could be used. I took a look at what the experience was from a cognitive learning, a cognitive development process for the children. And I took a look at what was not being met, what was not being fulfilled, and how they could be met and fulfilled. I spoke to a lot of teachers, took a look at a lot of platforms out there, and did a lot of analysis and realized there was a gap. It wasn't being met. A lot of systems out there were built almost from the technology perspective. Because they could do it, they did it this way. They had the transmission of information, that storage of information. But they didn't fully serve the needs of the student wanting to learn or the teacher needing to teach the way they did online. So I designed a way basically to incorporate artificial intelligence and blockchain technology that allowed the students to be effectively matched with the right learning situation and the right teacher or expert. And when I realized what I had done, and I was speaking to some people, they were blown away by this. They thought, wow, this is ingenious. And so what I did was I got a provisional patent because I knew that if I were to get a provisional patent, I'd be able to secure some financing to help develop this. And so we did. We have the beta phase that's going to be launching soon, and we're going to launch this in phases. And this has happened over a period of months. And this technology is going to make education easier, more effective, more convenient, and more affordable. It'll be accessible anywhere around the world. But the other important thing is it's going to help teachers, instructors get the skills they need to be able to communicate better using technology, helps them find the students they can help best. Because the philosophy I have is not every teacher is the best teacher for every student. And so if you want a student to really learn and prosper and just blossom, find the right teacher that knows how to make that happen in that student. This is from my personal experience, because there were teachers that killed my spirit, or teachers that made me want to just blossom. And there were school systems where I totally blossomed. And that was where you had independent learning. I do really well in independent learning. I push myself because I push myself. I get bored when I have to wait for everybody else to figure out what I have already figured out. With my children, I saw this with different teachers and their styles. So I'd say a good third of the students do not bode well in a class environment where they have to have a certain way of doing exercises and stuff. A third of the students are just, they think differently. Their creativity level is at another plane. A lot of them get bored. And so the system is designed to kind of put batches of students through. Well, when I was going through school, I was fortunate enough to be put in one of my subject areas in an enriched class, where we basically in high school accelerated to university level content for that course. But it was a group of us that were all at the same level of ability. They were able to do that. If we were in a class where it was a great range of those abilities, we wouldn't have been able to do that. So the system I developed helps address that. It helps make sure that we maximize that learning for every student. The other thing it does is it is a way to maximizing what that student learns. There's no use in you learning something you already know or something that's irrelevant to what your objective is. So the system is designed in a way to give you what you need so that you can achieve your success in life. Now, I should mention, it's not just for elementary or primary school students. It's for university students. It's for people following a certain career path. It's for anybody that wants to learn a skill or build a knowledge base or figure out something that they find challenging. And it does it quickly. And what people are doing right now is they're going to Google and getting Google to give them the answer. And that is very laborious, very ineffective. And the quality of what they're getting isn't necessarily all that reliable. So in our system, it's also built the quality factor, so that when you get that knowledge, it's the quality knowledge, the quality learning. It's not the stuff that, oh, everybody else has this, so it must be true. No, we don't buy into that. So that's also built into the system. And so what it does for the teachers is it allows them to show their true strength. So you could have a teacher that's very rigorous when it comes to the traditional way of rote thinking, and they do very well. We match them up with the types of students that learn well on that. It makes them look good. And then we have the teachers are more creative and artistic and ability to position students so the students can think on their own. That's a level up when it comes in terms of the innovators and the problem solvers. And those teachers are always thinking about that particular student, what's going to inspire them and trigger the cognitive processes that allow them to be able to create the solutions and create them quickly. These people learn much more quicker. Both of them do when they're master right teachers that know how to help them. The other part of it is you have some special needs children as well. And there are some teachers that do really well with them and have certain exercises and techniques that help them really well. What our system does is it actually helps those students and their students' parents find the teachers that can actually relate to them and have already developed the exercises, the techniques to help those students learn, regardless of what challenge or unique abilities they may have. Those teachers have dedicated their life and have an expertise in that area. We help them match that. So we don't just throw students into a batch. It's one-on-one, and some of it is prepackaged. Alex, I don't want to go off course. There's so much to this. That's why I'm getting excited. Did I answer your question? I don't even remember what your question was.
I don't remember
answer your question.
What day it is.
Oh, you asked me how I got into this, what triggered it. So what triggered it was basically me seeing that it was a big need, that children and lives are being disrupted. And so that's why I went on this mission to figure out what the solution was. I figured it out. I got a provisional plan, and I attracted some supporters to this thing. We were able to partner up with a publicly traded corporation, a fintech company out of Toronto, to help us with the technology development side. And we also have partnerships pending in Asia with an ed tech platform that has 1 million users, and a newspaper chain in Africa that wants to partner up with us to help promote this in Africa. So without even launching the beta yet, we have people that are coming out from every direction, including some digital assets, digital currencies that are looking to work with us. And by the way, we have our own digital currency that we're launching tied to this, tokens, where you can buy these courses if you want using tokens or fiat money, and the teachers the same thing. They can collect payment with tokens or fiat money. And the advantage to the teacher is that the system will help schedule, help determine the best way to arrange the learning, and will also help them with managing payment and all that. So it's truly a great system set up to help the instructors, but also the students both equally. And the value of it is it takes a lot of load off the teacher, especially when it comes to finding students, because one of the challenges teachers are having is finding the students that they could help the best. And when there's nothing so frustrating or damaging to one's career and credibility is when you are trying to teach somebody that by your techniques is unteachable, and you don't have the techniques or mindset to be able to adapt, to be able to teach them the way they need to learn. That is so frustrating. That's what creates a lot of negative reviews about teachers and problems with teachers. So, and that was, by the way, I got inspired after I read a book that was talking about how some children are classified as ADHD, unable to focus, when in reality, it's because those kids are used to thinking from a more artistic point of view. But the school system isn't set up to allow that to happen. But when they took some of these students and put them into artistic schools, they blossomed, they just flourished. So that's a good example of how teaching styles and techniques affect how well a child can learn and blossom.
Okay,
I hope that answers your question.
I answered a lot more questions than the first one, but it's all good. So is this more of a web platform where anybody around the world can be a teacher and anybody around the world can be a student, and more of a international mismatch, finding the best student with the best teacher type of thing? Or is this a classroom here in Canada, here in North Bay, here in Oakville? There's going to be a classroom with kids inside it. Like, help us understand it. I think with the best quote that we can from the TV show The Office.
Great question, Alex. Great question.
Tell it to me like I'm a 10-year-old. Sure. Explain it to me like I'm 5 years old.
Okay. So Johnny, are you having problems understanding this exercise? Why don't you go on EZsmarts and get some help? Johnny, you asked a very good question. Daddy doesn't know what the answer is, but go into EZsmarts. I know there's some really smart people there. I'll give you the answer you need, the way you need to understand it. Or Alex, you're having challenge in math. You just don't get what the teachers are trying to teach you. How about you take the course that is being offered in EZsmarts by one of the teachers that helps children just like you? And so that's how it starts. And it's not a group environment. It's actually one-on-one, where you can ask a question and it gets answered by the most qualified person that could explain to you in the way that you need it explained. Or it could be tutoring, one-on-one tutoring. It's accessible anywhere in the world. We're not limited to any one geographical area. We're starting in Ontario because we have good quality teachers in Ontario. And those teachers are who we're relying on to populate the actual teacher. Now I say teachers. When I use the term teachers, it's not just licensed teachers in the system. It could be anybody that's an expert or has specialized knowledge, because I find that some of the best educators, these are educators, the best educators are the ones who just simply understand something and are able to communicate it well to other people that want to learn it. And it's not always about the general ability to teach according to the theoretical way of teaching. Sometimes it's just them being able to explain it from the perspective to other people, because they've been through it and they're the same character type or have the same journey, are able to explain it better to them.
They're actual practitioners.
They're practitioners. So for example, let's say that I have an old motorcycle that I need to fix, or I want to restore, or I want to convert the chain from a belt drive to a chain drive. So I could go on YouTube, and there's a ton of people there that will give you all kinds of stuff. Or I could book a session with somebody who's done it, maybe even a mechanic, who can talk me through it quickly, answer all my questions while I'm doing it. So I don't have to spend all that time first trying to Google and figure out who it is I'm going to listen to on YouTube. But then second of all, trying to figure out what they're saying and keep watching it over and over again. And it'll take me, and I use this example because I had to do this. And you can spend a whole day trying to do this and figure it out, or you can book a session with a mechanic who will do it for you in less than 1 hour. What's more valuable to you? 8 hours spent in frustration and all that lost money in recreational time, or paying someone a fraction of what you lost in time to be able to help you through it and doing it right.
Yeah, I mean, like you're saying, first of all, you have to find out somebody's reliability. Am I going to trust this person? You have to do your back research to see, does this guy know what they're saying?
And by the way, Alex, the artificial intelligence component is actually designed to be able to validate the qualifications, the quality, the credibility, and the actual level of knowledge and expertise and ability to educate that individual teacher, instructor has. This is the power of what we're doing here. All right. So this is how I incorporated it. So that's what I'm saying. It's more efficient. You're going to save a lot of time rather than have to go through Google or YouTube or any other search engine. It really is really effective. And the other beauty of it is, not only do you figure out how to do what you need to do, but you have the opportunity when you book one-on-one with an expert to ask other questions so you better understand not just that one task, but how that fits into the whole thing around the way that motorcycle is designed, for example, and potential problems that could arise, what to watch out for, how to maintain it later on. All that stuff is part of one-on-one that you never get through a YouTube video. So that's
almost like
rent an example.
Rent a mentor, almost like,
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. I get a lot as a real estate broker. I get a lot of questions related to real estate. Everything from how do I get the maximum price for my house to what what's the best rental property for me to buy, or how do I treat the situation, or the seller didn't tell me about this problem, how do I deal with it, or the broker did this, I don't think that's right, what should I do about it? So a lot of this stuff is stuff that doesn't get published anywhere for various reasons, and they require confidential information, confidential conversations. So you could actually book that with a realtor, book a confidential conversation in terms of how to deal with certain things or answer certain questions around around real estate of any type. I get questions about, where should I buy my investment property? Should it be in a city, in a community? Which community? Well, I don't want to really publish which communities are the best return investment, because some of them are small. And if I publish it, you're going to have a ton of people going there to buy that property for the reasons that I say, and it's going to push up the price, and it's going to change the ROI dynamics. So I only reveal those to my actual qualified clients who have signed contracts with me. But there's no reason for me, if I'm being paid for it, why I wouldn't have a one-on-one session and explain to other realtors or individuals why those communities are good to invest in and what's happening there. Information that you can't find on the internet, that, because I did my research, I know some of the operators there, the developers, I may have researched at the city planning department, so I know what's happening. This information takes a long time to gather. I don't want to just release it because it's all my time and I don't get paid back for it. But if I actually talk to 20 people that want that information, and I charge them for that information, they'll greatly pay for it, because it would take them hours and hours and hours of time, and then the ability to analyze it is something else, to be able to come up with these great opportunities. So I can actually address those questions, give them a touring session on how to buy or what areas to buy real estate in. That's an example. Another one is, how do I know what type of house I should buy to live in? Well, that's a fantastic question that people don't always ask, but it hits them afterwards when they buy a house, move in, they realize, wait a second, this doesn't really fit my lifestyle, what I expected. And then there's a buyer's remorse. That can really be avoided with the proper qualification steps ahead of time. I help them with that. That's part of my process when I deal with my clients. But they don't have to be my clients. I could take them through that process as a tutor, one-on-one. And then once they understand that, they can do their own work. If they decide to use me as a realtor, that's fine. If they don't, that's fine too. But I will get paid for me helping them through that, guide them through that process of them know what to look for and how to do that self-evaluation. Does that give you an idea of what can be?
Yeah, can we call EZsmarts supplemental learning for now? Like, it's not going to be full-on classes in the school system. Obviously, in Canada, it'd be difficult, but at the moment, it's going to be supplemental learning, maybe after school classes or after school, like you said, a little course on something.
What we're working on now is we have some contests that we planned out, and we're giving great prizes, which I'll talk about in a second. So what we want to do is we want to help teachers, because one of the challenges the teachers have is the ability to engage their students in a way that allows their students to put mind energy on the exercise. They're so used to just repeating what they read that it's a habit now. So they're looking for ways to inspire the students to come up with their own thoughts. The best way to do that is through the use of questions. That's why we've developed a module that allows students to ask questions. So we're going to have challenges where students get rewarded for the questions they ask. And among the prizes, and then the teachers can use this as part of a class exercise to engage the students, because now the students are in a competitive mode. Now they're pushing their brain to come up with questions around certain themes. But by them asking the questions, they have to review. First of all, they're going to reveal what it is that they would like to learn, but they're also going to review what the facts of what they already know. That's what's necessary for them to ask the question. So by them being able to go through that process, they're already learning, inherently learning. That process alone learns it, but it positions their mind in a way where now they're going to be more hungry for knowledge, and they're going to want to answer their own question after, and they're going to want to answer the question of other students. So it's a great way to engage them. So we want to give this tool to the teachers. So one of the things we're doing is we have, let me see if I have them here. We actually have some pencils that we have bought that have the EZsmarts logo on them. And you can see that with our website address. We're going to be giving this away so that students know where to go to when they need help. But also part of the contest is going to have as prizes 2 box seats to the Scotiabank Arena for the Raptors or the Maple Leaf games. These are box seats, and that includes food. So, when you look up at the arena where there's games, you see those glass rooms up on top.
Of course.
Yeah, we're going to have an open view, a very, very nice atmosphere to get to actually meet myself and the other senior people at EZsmarts and some others. And that is the value is $1,000 of that prize. So we're going to be giving that prize. We're also going to be giving secondary prizes. So if the teacher has the most students registered, they get rewarded. If the person who referred that student in also gets a prize if that student wins. And just by participating, the students are going to be rewarded. So it doesn't cost anything for them to join or to join the contest. We want to launch this way to help the students realize and the teachers understand we're there to help them. They can use.
So do the students or the teachers win the prize? The box.
Both. The students. The students win the $1,000 prize. The student can also win the $1,000 prize if the teacher wants to participate. They can also win. But if the teacher refers a student, let's say they have 30 students and they refer students, then one of those students wins that $1,000 prize. The teacher also gets a prize because she referred the winning student. The teacher gets a prize if she refers the most students in as well. So we're giving away a lot of prizes during this contest because we want to make a splash. We want people to realize, hey, this technology exists. Give it a shot, try it. It's going to help the students get engaged. It's going to help the students think more analytically, more from a problem-solving perspective. And that's what the teachers want, because it's going to make the teacher's job a lot easier if the students now have the tools to be able to do their own research. But here's the beauty of it. The students can become educators. If you think about it, a student, and students are great for this. If a student knows how something works and has figured out how to understand it from their own perspective, the chances are that other children their age or other adults their age that are facing the same situation are able to better comprehend it if it's explained to them by that one student. Now that student becomes a teacher and they can get rewarded for teaching others as well. So that's the beauty of this system. It doesn't discriminate in terms of who wants to be actually, I shouldn't say it doesn't discriminate. It does acknowledge teachers that are licensed educators. They do have a priority in terms of some credibility, by all means, not the majority of credibility, but they are acknowledged for the fact that they're licensed. The same thing with professors, and the same thing with people that are experts in their field. So that's part of the AI that's included in there. But what it does is it gives students the ability to become educators. And I don't know about you, but I learned in life that when I try to teach something to somebody, that's when I truly learn it. I can learn it without teaching it, but for me to really understand it and really understand how it could be applied and to build on it, I try to teach it to somebody that doesn't know anything about it, because that's when my mind really grasps it. And then I could see how I could develop it further. It kind of supercharges it in my mind. And that is a real pro for students, because if they do that, then it's just going to take them up a notch. And it's also great for their confidence. So the system allows for that.
Well, we're starting to run out of time. We're starting to run out of time. So can you, is there a website somewhere we can go to learn more about this contest, or when it's going to be announced?
Yeah, it's not going to be launched for about, 3 weeks. But if you go to EZsmarts.com, I don't know if you see that. If you can put it against it, we'll put it on there. Don't worry. Okay, so EZsmarts.com. And we also are very open to anybody that wants to partner with us or collaborate or has ideas. Like I say, we're here to help and make a difference. So if anybody has any ideas or wants to partner or collaborate or sponsor the contest, please step up. You know, we want the community to be fully engaged to help make a big difference. So Alex, thank you so much. I could talk about this for a long, long time. You asked some great questions, and I really appreciate your interest in this.
No, thank you, Baldo. Thank you for letting us know about your EZsmarts, and I guess I'll be starting to round up kids and send them so I can win some prizes.
Oh yeah, by all means. There's more too. I'll explain to you after, or maybe we'll have a follow-up session. There's a lot more to this than what we talked about.
All right. Well, thank you, Baldo, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks again. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.